Can you tell me about Jon Jones and Dana White having dinner, making a deal done? What would that be worth?
What a mark you are, Patrick. I mean, just when I thought you couldn't be a bigger mark, here you are marking out again. April Fool's, brother. Come on.
No.
Yes.
No.
You fell for this?
Yes.
Like I said, I mean, listen, I know you went to West Virginia. I'm sorry about the beatdown that my boys in Orange put on you guys. I know education isn't exactly what we like to call top-notch over there. But yes, check the date. April Fools, come on. You think it goes down like that? Listen, big MMA news only gets broken by yours truly. Not that guy on Twitter. Come on.
Man,
you see me write it? No.
Why did we even? That was the only reason to have him on.
I mean, shit, hook, line, and sinker, I guess.
Got all of us.
Stinks.
So Dana was a part of that?
We have X amount of appearances. Mr. Jacobs and I cut a deal. I had to be on today. You think I wanted to come on Good Friday, one of my favorite holidays of the year?
No. By the way, you coming on was potentially about something that we're all realizing.
It's all bullshit.
All bullshit. And we're starting to become the biggest MMA show on the internet, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Francis Ngannou interview, sat down for 30 minutes, learned his whole story, almost got that thing. Overnight, we were becoming, we're trying to give you a little bit of a rub in that world.
Yeah.
Turns out we got caught.
We got fucking duped.
No. Bones I thought he and Dana so Dana played along?
It was after midnight, though, but that was on the East Coast. I don't know if they're on the West Coast.
Oh, see, we're trying to explain why we potentially had our guard down. It's because where we live here on the Eastern Standard Time, it was past April Fool's Day, so we put our guards down.
What's your level of interest in that fight?
4,000.
Should they pay up for it?
Okay. I think so. Now, I don't know what the average amount of money made off of all these are. If you go off the boxing numbers and how much money Floyd makes per fight and how much money Conor made whenever he was fighting over there and the Wilder Fury fights and how much money comes out of the boxing world, which has always been a much larger purse than anywhere else. And you go back in time to when Jon Jones was having his surge in everything in fighting. He was on cereal boxes and Nike deals and everything. I thought
I was there, Patrick. You don't have to give me the whole story. I lived it. Go ahead.
Yeah, me too. I was at the fights. I was at the after parties. I was literally in the family there for a little bit. I thought he was potentially going to be able to be the Floyd Mayweather of mixed martial arts, where go off and do your own events and sell your own tickets. And then everything started happening out of the cage and everything started going kind of haywire and going down. I think if Jon Jones, who was named the greatest fighter of all time, basically, whenever he was going, and everybody, I loved watching him fight. His return bout against the story we just heard yesterday, a man who's going to write a book and title it Born Slave Became a King. I mean, that fight would be one that I would be very interested in. I don't know if he told you that on your show. He told that on my show yesterday or whatever.
Yeah, he did.
But that fight would be, yes, I'd be very interested in that fight. Wouldn't you?
I think it's one of the biggest fights that they could ever do. He is the closest thing that they've ever had to Mike Tyson. And what I mean by that is, he suspends disbelief, right? He looks the part. He hits like a Mack truck. He's a heavyweight champion that everyone's intimidated by, who everyone's afraid of. I mean, he's incredible. But here's the biggest difference between him and Mike Tyson. He's just scratching the surface. Yes, he's 34, but I don't think we've seen nowhere near how good this guy can be. And so the idea that you have this guy who's just scratching the surface, but he's the heavyweight champ who just knocked out Stipe Miocic, and oh, by the way, here's Jon Jones who vacated the title and said, all right, I'm going to fight either Stipe or Francis. And he's an undefeated champion and the greatest light heavyweight champion, and in most people's eyes, the greatest fighter of all time, period. Like, that's a massive, massive fight. That is a massive fight. Now, I would advise Jon to not negotiate in public. This doesn't rub the UFC brass the right way. They don't like when people do this. If he truly wants to make this fight happen, and I believe he does, there's this notion out there that he's afraid of Francis. How silly is this notion? The guy just gave up his title knowing very well that it was either Stipe or Francis next. There was a 50-50 chance, and oh, by the way, Francis was the betting favorite. And now all of a sudden he's going to back out? No. He just wants to get paid. Now, is his demand a little unreasonable? He says 8 to 10 is too little. I would offer... I'm not going to say he doesn't have a very strong point, but historically, very, very few fighters, like I can literally name one or two have made 8 to 10 or more.
Connor?
You know the names. Connor and Khabib. That's it.
In
and
that
Khabib
fight, their first fight or all fights?
No, I'm talking about for a fight.
Oh, Connor and when they fought each other?
Yeah, but no, Khabib afterwards has made in that range. But there's a difference with Khabib. Connor's the only one that just gets it, period, regardless of the situation.
Pay-per-view.
Khabib gets it because he fights in Abu Dhabi, and there's a deal there with the Abu Dhabi government, so they chip in a little bit. But that's it. And so does Jon deserve it for his body of work? Sure. I just don't know if he's going about it the right way. And by the way, I don't think the UFC is going to stick around. Like, they'll call up Derek Lewis pretty quickly to move on.
Yeah, and he said he would take the fight, I believe. He said 8 million. 8 million I'll fight. I believe is what he said. But which, by the way, he's one of the most entertaining people of all time. Feels like the heavyweights have a great thing going right now, which is good for everybody. Anytime there's big people swinging at big people, it's good news. What is a normal buy for a pay-per-view? How many people buy it? And whenever you talk about points, did Stipe get $700,000 in bonuses from pay-per-view points because he made allegedly 1.2 something, and Francis made?
Where are you getting these numbers from?
The internet.
I mean, I guess I expect nothing less from a guy who just made up a whole story a month ago. But this is not the NBA. This is not the NFL. The numbers that you see online are not accurate when it comes to fighting, especially MMA.
Really?
They can pretty much disclose what they want, and that's that. And most fighters are okay with that because they don't want, jabrones like you going through their taxes. And so,
well, jabrones like me have had every dollar I made basically publicly stated. So it's.
Sure,
I didn't think it would be a bad thing. I think it's kind of normal for people that are at a high level. But what is the average? You're saying the $8 to $10 million. There's only 2 people that have ever gotten that. Whenever you're talking UFC fighters, why is it always just widely considered like, yeah, the purse is much smaller? Is it because boxing has been around a lot longer and mixed?
The breakdown is completely different, right? I mean, let's take Mayweather. He's his own promoter. So he's going to take the boatload of the money here. And also the rest of the card is making a lot less. So he's able to take the lion's share. Even if you don't have a guy like Mayweather, let's say you have a guy like, I don't know, Anthony Joshua. He's promoted by Matchroom Boxing, Eddie Hearn. It's going to be him versus, let's say, hopefully one day Tyson Fury. I mean, just look at the gate, look at everything, look at the breakdown as far as the TV deals and all that, and then look at what the rest of the guys are making on the card. So that's not to say that it should be way more in the UFC. It should, but I'm saying they like to spread it out a lot more. I know, by the way, because you're essentially working for them as opposed to being your own promoter or co-promoter, you're going to get a lesser portion of the pie.
So you're saying how many downloads or how many pay-per-view buys?
For which? What I predict that Jones and Ngannou would get?
Yeah, give me like biggest of all time, normal, and then
biggest of all time is a little over 2 million for Conor Khabib. These days they're on fire. The pandemic has treated them very well. So there have been a few, like Conor and Dustin did over 1 million. Masvidal Usman did over 1 million.
What is it? $69.99 or what is it? $49.99? $69.99.
$69.99.
Jesus.
They're doing big business.
They are, but if you're Jon Bones and Connor and everybody, that's why you would automatically see that because the UFC will survive them. They will outgrow.
Can I tell you my biggest issue with all of this?
Yeah.
My biggest issue is, and I'm happy that we're having this conversation. This is good. This is good for us.
I mean, you've been in a luchador mask this entire time, but I feel like it has been a very good conversation. And by the way, we've been able to willfully suspend disbelief that we're talking to a clown and actually have, taken what you've said seriously for a good convo here. So congrats to us for doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
Congrats to us for taking it serious.
You misspelled my name on the graphic there. You forgot an E, for the record.
Z.
So
That's on me.
going back to the conversation, Jon Jones relinquished his title off the top of my head June or July, right? It's currently, April 1st. What have we been doing, what have we been doing since June to April? Like this, we knew that Jon was giving up his belt to fight either Stipe or Francis. This has been said time and again. Why are we waiting until now to talk turkey with Jon Jones? That's the part that bothers me in all this. If I were in charge, what I would have done was November, December, January. At this point, we know Francis and Stipe are fighting March 27th. Get a deal done with Jon Jones and get 2 separate deals done. Get a Stipe deal done, a Francis deal done, right? Get a deal done in writing, verbal, whatever. and then have two promos. Francis wins. End of the pay-per-view. Could you imagine? You fade to black. You run the promo. The greatest champion of all time, moving up to heavyweight, going against the new heavyweight champion. I mean, do I have to run the show myself? Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, hold on though. That fight has now how many days removed from that fight are we now?
Almost a week.
6 days. Now the conversation's reignited again with a April 1st April Fool's Day tweet or whatever, but just whenever you release that video, it gets big pop that night, right? At 4 a.m. or whatever, whenever that pay-per-view ends. You get a big pop that night. I think you get the deal done, obviously, pre-hand, but man, the slow roll this week of rolling out that Jon Bones is going to happen, I think that would be better booking personally, but if you want to make the announcement at 4 a.m. after the fight just ended and take Francis's enjoyment moment.
It's 12:30 on the East Coast, 9:30 on the West, and all eyes are on Francis and the coronation of the new king and all that stuff. If you want to wait till Monday morning, fine. But I feel like, I just look at the activity online at the end of a pay-per-view. It's sky high. I mean, my numbers through the roof. I mean, unbelievable numbers, for my programs. So I would have done it then, promo or not. I just want to know, what have we been doing for the last 8 months, right? Like, why didn't we get a deal done? Why are we doing this now? Because what's very
it's so hard for me to take you
especially in these
serious.
times?
Bro, you're talking right now to a company that's about to go public, right? UFC is about to go public, right? Mm-hmm. And I think you're making I think Endeavor just bought out, they now have 100% ownership of it before it goes IPO or whatever. So I don't know what that means, but UFC is about to skyrocket. And you're breaking down a very, very, very good point, bringing up very logical questions and things that would be good for their business. But you're wearing this luchador mask the entire time. It is very difficult. Oh my God. Wow. Oh, still got the belt there. Yeah. Still have the belt.